Well, never mind all that stuff, because COVID also taught Sunny Hostin how to get her groceries delivered. Yeah, I know, amazing. But that means it's time for...
Living your life and you're feeling low. You don't know what is true. You don't know what's true. So you quick flip through the channels to watch Sunny on The View. Oh my God, the stuff she says is dumb. Where the hell they get this woman from? She's a host who's always crass and lame, with lots of nonsense to proclaim.
Mercury in retrograde isn't the cause of Sunny Host's recent outburst. After receiving a harsh reprimand from Greg Gutfeld, her teleprompter broke, causing unprecedented drama and sending Kleenex flying off the shelves. No one, not even fans of The View, anticipated this encounter. So if you've ever wanted to see someone fall apart faster than a wind tunnel false wig, hold on tight. You'll be amazed at what she said when the cameras stop rolling.
I make fun of The View a lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Those hens are always clucking. They get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, and then I get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, except on purpose. But every now and then, one of those dingbats inadvertently says something that reveals modern liberal thought so perfectly it deserves further study. You know, like a weird serpent that washed up on the beach and you want to poke it with a stick.
Greg Gutfeld exposed more hypocrisy in 2 minutes than The View has been able to ignore in 2 decades. When someone asks a question more complex than, what's your favorite color? On The View, there was more than the typical cracking that occurs every day. People were cracked by Sunny Host for the first time. It turned out to be a broken 4K Super HD TV.
So, Sunny, I bet you haven't been in a supermarket since COVID for about 3 years.
I haven't been in a supermarket since like COVID. For about 3 years. That's when I discovered Instacart, and I give them a big tip because they don't always pay their people well, and it's so that's been an issue I think for the company. But man, you can get toiletries, you can get fire logs. You know those big Bounty towels you don't want to carry. Those from Costco. Somebody else those.
Fire logs? She had to tell the audience that she tips big because even she knows she sounds insufferable. Hey, but at least I tip.
Naturally, the host took center stage and made enlightening statements like, everything bad is someone else's fault, and fact are optional if you say them passionately enough. The host poses as a legal expert, much like a teenager who plays Guitar Hero with devotion, but in a bad way, with loud affirmations, backpatting, the typical group therapy environment, and a broad agreement that they were once again defending democracy, one stupid point of view at a time. The View's commencement began like any other Tuesday.
Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from Europe. Here's how she took them.
Imagine, if you haven't seen The View, the common area of a political Facebook page where individuals who have read a Constitution-related Wikipedia article assert that they are constitutional experts. If the definition of reason is threat to democracy anytime anyone disagrees with her latte-filled worldview, then Sunny is the voice of reason in the group.
Wow. I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, you know, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that. And I think it's great for our children. Mm-hmm. To know this information. I guess it's a fact of life that this is how some people made their living, on the backs of others.
Fact of life. Interesting change of tune. For more, we go to our chief Sunny Hostin correspondent for a reaction.
Well, good karma. When Greg Gutfeld decided to fight, things really got going. Gutfeld isn't quite polished in the traditional sense, as you can see. He is more like the person who says what everyone is thinking at a dinner party but is too nice or afraid to say out loud. The moment Greg started pointing out Sunny's worst hypocritical moments, she collapsed like a deck chair in a cyclone, suggesting that no one told her that sarcasm is still allowed in most states. The first was Sunny's extraordinary ability to demand civil discourse after having just weeks before characterized half the nation as a nomadic army of goblins determined to destroy democracy. It appears that you cannot have a reasonable discussion with her if you disagree with her. If you do, you are effectively participating in her murder. This led to the creation of Sunny Hostin, a peculiar combination of courtroom drama and middle school lunchroom politics. And Greg didn't stop there. No, he went all forensic accounting on her, pulling out receipts as though he were auditing her whole public existence. When Sunny's preferred administration attempted the same technique, her passionate protest against family separations at the border abruptly changed into complicated policy nuances that were too complicated for us mere mortals to understand. Does it contradict itself? She almost stitched it to one of her throw pillows.
Oh, I'm gonna milk this till the end of time. You're right. Anytime she says something stupid, I'm gonna go, slave owner! Kat, I just watched that. That's the second time I've watched that. She was tipped off beforehand, right? Because they had to tell her before, so she had time to regroup. They wouldn't just surprise. You think? No?
I don't know. I feel like she could have maybe done better. Okay.
Greg went into great detail to explain everything. Sunny's rage is like a light switch that turns on when a conservative sneezes, and it turns off when a liberal face plants on the Constitution. Even if you give him the E and the T for misspelling the term, she is the type of person who will insist on investigating the ethics of politicians' tweets and defend them. Which feature is the best? As one might anticipate from such a loyal audience, the View crowd responded. Even if Gutfeld had shown them an album of Sunny's most contradictory photographs, signed by Sunny herself, they would still have laughed at him for spreading hate. Naturally, Sunny played the victim, as many modern TV personalities are instructed to do. Shortly after expressing audience sympathy, she trembled and shed the rehearsed tears that come with 3 rounds of media training. She transformed Gutfeld's biting criticism into a general attack on minorities, women, and perhaps all rescued canines. What makes winning a debate impossible? It is necessary to broaden the battlefield until it is wholly emotional.
I think that women, white women in particular, want to protect this patriarchy here because it's to their benefit. Yeah. They want to make sure that their husbands do well. They want to make sure that their sons do well. They want to make sure that their children do well. And they want to make sure that they do well. Most of the women in some of these studies are married white women, and they do fall in line with what their husbands are doing.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions? Yeah. Like you said, it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing.
Sunny cried because someone had the audacity to call her out on contradicting herself more than a motivational speaker with commitment issues after she had spent years demeaning millions of Americans from her cozy ABC job. A lack of self-awareness would earn points from Olympic judges. Oh! They circled the wagons like cowboys in an old western, but instead of defending against bandits, they were defending Sunny from the horrifying threat of being fact-checked. They'd say, Whoopi Goldberg once said, "Remember, facts are a social construct if you feel strongly enough about it." As it being revealed for her blatant dishonesty on national television wasn't just another Tuesday for any politician or public figure. The producers appeared to be working non-stop behind the scenes to protect Sunny's mental health. But this was different from the others.
Joy Behar gets racism. After all, she's been black on Halloween. Yeah. But Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. But that is convenient, right? It's like one of my aunts dies every time Brian Kilmeade wants to hang out. Maybe Joy needs a full day to read her hate mail, and that's just from the rest of the cast. So Scott had to deal with Sunny Hostin and her typical self-righteous.
Greg Gutfeld ventured to point out that the Emperor was naked while sobbing into her expensive coffee cup. Naturally, Social media had a field day. In just a few minutes, Twitter was flooded with memes, one of which featured Sunny and said, "Strong opinions, weak spine." She started crying when she saw the caption, "When you realize receipts don't lie." It turns out that when you insult half of the country while complaining about civility, even the apolitical population began to pay attention. Greg Gutfeld's show became well-known online, and his candid and amusing criticism of Sunny's actions struck a chord with everyone sick of hearing the same 3 talking points discuss the same subject every week on cable news. It was a great example of how The View is more of a live-action Tumblr post than a discussion, especially with better lighting and a studio audience. Everyone has practiced a routine for the synchronized swimming competition, and the person who tosses a cannonball into the water is ridiculed for being mean.
But unlike this chick, we didn't think it was the best thing that could have happened to us. Although it did get Joy Behar to wear a mask. It's funny, her being named Joy is like me being named Ugly.
The View's desperate attempt to reframe the entire scandal, not about Sunny's hypocrisy, no, made it all the more delicious. Although it seems that calling attention to inequalities is now a federal hate crime, the intention was to protect women from public harassment and attacks. In reality, however, The View provides a safe sanctuary for opinions that have never been challenged by polite conversation. Under the pretense of political analysis, Sunny Hostin and her co-host would prefer to conduct a daily workshop on self-esteem rather than engage in debate. Even logic and irony collapse like a cheap store when brought up in a discussion.
Did you watch the whole thing or just the parts that I sent you?
I watched it. Obviously, just the parts that you said. Did I watch a whole episode of The View?
No woman can do that unless you're stupid. But
I have a job.
Here's the thing. How can they call themselves progressives when they keep saying that nothing has progressed? Then it's on them.
Right. I just wish I could have, would have watched if I could, would have been Joy Behar watching that.
Yes.
And being like, I totally made the right call. It was not an accident that they had him there on her day off.
Yes.
When she was, presented herself as the, expert on systemic racism.
Furthermore, without a name, a contemporary tragedy cannot be regarded as definitive. Sunny started off with a poignant speech about growing up and having the guts to accept your imperfections. Indeed, it was remarkable how the viewpoint changed from a critical evaluation of injustice and dishonesty to a therapeutic educational experience. Please disregard the fact that I was caught on live television playing Calvin Ball with my own beliefs. This might have served as the inspiration for a later Marvel movie. At the convocation of the Gaslighters, on the other hand, Gutfeld kept winning with the same cocky smile that makes a professional go crazy with excitement, but without any bitterness or rage. He is aware of the trap. If you point up the Emperor's nudity, you are immediately labeled a body positive, vile individual. Every time Sunny tries to regain her moral superiority, someone invariably brings up that one instance in which she had confronted her own comment and lost it faster than butter in a microwave. Sunny is stuck in a rut. This has made her a living meme.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions?
Yeah.
Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist. You see?
The View would use this time to go over their alternatives and maybe even invite others who disagree with them in order to foster real conversation and restore the lost ability to communicate like adults without passing out on a sofa if someone disagrees. The View's chances of embracing intellectual honesty, however, are as slim as Sunny Holin's chances of winning the Pulitzer Prize for political courage. Let's face it, future episode will instead probably feature guided breathing exercises, emotional support llamas, and a 3-part series called Why Feelings Are More Important Than Facts. Sunny will continue to claim his superiority, link morality with height, and deliver lectures about the value of truth while ignoring any clues to the truth, like the fact that it is radioactive, in the wake of an investigation. Greg Gutfeld will keep reminding Americans that the emperor is more than just a naked man in the meanwhile. He's also requesting a standing ovation for his.
More time to talk. And I thought Will Smith wouldn't let a black man finish. If her IQ was half as high as her smugness, she'd be Einstein. And later it got weird after Whoopi Goldberg asked a question and Sunny chimed in again.
At the very least, Sunny's outburst was a gift to all of us. This beautiful television reminder that hypocrisy ultimately destroys. You made us laugh at the end. You can only mislead yourself and your audience for so long before someone realizes and bursts out laughing. Sunny Hostin's broadcast meltdown was less about politics and more about the inevitable collision between the hard, cold wall of truth and the manufactured rage of fragile ego. The perspective spun the wheel this time, and the result was disgrace.